Hi everyone, it's Ray with the education team from Swirlydoos Kit Club, and right now I'm going to show you my project that I am in the process of making, and it is from the December 2013 project kit. This month we have the We Are Memory Keepers gift box punch board, so you get to make all sorts of cute little boxes. You can make them as big as this, which is about 4 inches, and it takes a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and the smallest box, this is another square, is this size, and it's just under 2 inches. So you can make all sorts of sizes. They can be rectangles, they can be flat boxes, but I like these square ones. And so this is a medium one, and a large one, an extra large one, and a small. So you could stack them up, and they'll look like that. So that is what you can make with this punch board. And I want to share with you before I get started a couple of tips for making better boxes. These boxes that I just showed you were made out of cardstock that comes from the cardstock add-on, and I did a much better job assembling those than I did with my very first try using the paper that comes in the project add-on. I'm going to show you my first box. Even though it's put together nicely, you can see that it's ripped, and it's actually coming apart on a couple of the spots on the bottom. And this is my fault, of course. If you were light-handed with your bone folder, then this would not happen. But it's kind of pointy, and I pressed a little hard. In fact, if you have a heavy hand, and I typically do, I think it's best to use something like this that has a round tip. This is one of those tools that you get for when you make flowers. I think McGill Punches has a set of these. This is actually from Sizzix, from the Susan's Garden collection. There's a whole little kit that comes with that, and this is the little tool. I think you could actually even use a bottom of a paintbrush if you thought that this was going to actually cut. So that's just something to keep in mind. Make sure you go lightly with it. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you, and it's just a little tip, is you really need to make sure that you are measuring your paper out when you're cutting your squares or whatever you're cutting, whether it's a rectangle or whatever. One of the things you have to be certain that you're doing is that you're matching it up. If you're not careful where you mark your lines, or if your paper is a little too big or a little too small, these little tabs aren't going to line up. And so I actually ripped this, and so it's not going to work like this. Here's one of the smaller boxes that I made, and what I did was I was very careful, very light-handed. I used this tool and I measured it perfectly. I double-checked. I actually used my cutter, and then I set it down on my mat right here and made sure it was perfect. And a couple of the times that I did that, they were shorter than they were supposed to be, so I wasted those pieces of paper. I could use them for something else, but not for these boxes. I have to trim them down for a smaller size. So anyway, that is my tip for using the gift box, is if you're heavy-handed, use a tool like this and make sure you're measuring correctly. So I've already made all of the boxes that I'm going to use for my project, but I'm sure I'll be making some other projects with it. So I'm just going to show you very quickly how it works. This actually comes with a set of instructions, but I think it's relevant to kind of go over a couple of these things. So this is a 6 by 6 piece of paper, and I measured it out pretty well. And it has this chart right here where you can decide what kind of box you want. I want a small box. I'm going to use the 6 by 6. There are other small boxes you can put on here, like you could make a 7 by 7. I'm going to make the smallest one possible, and it's going to be a cube. So because it's the small, I'm going to line my paper up with a small line, and if you want to double check, you want to cover up the line, and you can see that there's this little groove right here. Just make sure your paper isn't going over that line. You want to make sure you're getting it right there in that groove. So the first thing that you do is you punch, and you've got your small line right here, and you've got a line right here. So you're going to make 3 score lines for each side, for all 4 sides. So what I like to do is I like to start this way at the end, and I find if you go slower, you get better results. And then I come over here, go all the way into the corner. If your paper were bigger, there's an extender that's right here, which I don't think you'd be able to see if I put that on there. I think it'll go off camera. So you've got these 2 lines, and then you also have your diagonal line. Because I'm making a small box, I find my small line, and I'm going to take it all the way to this line right here. You can't go any farther because it doesn't have a space for it. You can see right there. You can't keep going. So I've done this one, and then I just turn it to the next side. Again, line it up. Now I'm done with my tool, and then I'm going to flip it over. See, it kind of looks like a Chinese star. I'm going to flip it back over, and then I'm going to line it back up with a small line again, and punch. I'm going to do that out of all 4 sides. And now I'm done with this part. And I flip it over, and now I need to make the little grooves for my tabs. Now I take this, and this is the part that you can use the bone folder for. You can use it for all, but you do that on all 4 of the sides. And now you're ready to assemble the box. And so you've got these little flappers right there, and it goes in like that. And you do that for each one. And it's okay when you're doing it if the other ones come undone. It already has the impression, so it's good. And then you line up the little tabs. And it's just that simple. Now, when I was first trying this out, I have these and I don't want to waste them. I mean, this one is pretty good, but as I was holding them, I was thinking, this one, the smaller they are, the more sturdy they are. The larger they are, the more flimsy they are. And that's because I'm just using paper. But then I thought about, well, what if I use cardstock instead? Of course, that's not decorative, so I don't want to waste these because I could cut them up and turn them into scraps, or I could cut them up and glue them onto the cardboard boxes, and so that's what I'm going to do. And one of the reasons that I think this works out well too is for the design. Now for this one, it doesn't really matter if it's upside down. That doesn't trouble me too much. If I'm looking at this image, it's not really evident that it's that upside down. But if you're using something like this, the box is going to have some words that are upside down. And even though I don't care when other people's projects are like that, it drives me crazy with my own. So this is going to be a good way to use this still, is that I'm going to be able to take this off, cut it up, and adhere it on here where it's still going to be sideways, and I'm going to be able to read it on all 4 sides, which I wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So I've cut up all of the paper that I've used with my Graphic 45 boxes, and what I did is I heavily distressed them, and then I inked them with Vintage Photo. And here's why I distressed them very heavily, is because if I put it on here just like this, it's going to somewhat overlap a little bit, and I'm not going to be able to see any of this green, which I want to see. So if I've heavily distressed them, and I can even move it up a little bit just to kind of hand distress, and then I can add them like this, you're going to be able to see that green cardstock peeking out, and it's going to look great. So I'll just show you how heavily I did that. And I'll do that part just a little bit more. Fold it up a little bit like that. And I can do that again before I actually put it on there. And then I thought Vintage Photo went really well with this line. So I'm just going to do this. I cut another hole in my craft sheet, so I'm just using a piece of cardboard right now. And all I'm trying to do is to get these edges brown. And get some nice distressed coloring on the edges too. So these are my pieces, and this is the part where I reveal that although I love the practicality of these little gift boxes, and I made my best efforts to make them sturdy, I'm not going to use them for gifts. I'm actually just going to be making a little display, because this is Graphic 45, 12 Days of Christmas. I love this line. I want to have something to display in my house. And so I thought it would be good to have these stacking boxes. So as I'm putting these on, I'll explain to you what I'm doing. Okay, so instead of keeping this opening, I'm going to go ahead and close it up by using the bottom part of this paper when it was the box that I made. And I'm going to put that on the top. And I'm just using Fabri-Tac. I normally use zip dry, but I'm out. So I'll call this the front. And then, because I'm using wet glue, it needs a sec just to adhere. So I just do this for a sec. And then I can move on. So I think I pretty much have this planned out. What I've done is I've taken stickers from the Graphic 45 stickers from the kit, and I wanted to represent all 12 of the days of Christmas on the blocks, and so I've done that. I've just put the stickers on here just for measuring purposes and stuff, but all of these will be distressed and inked, and I will add a bunch of little flowers in the kit. We have these little berries, so I'll add those little sprigs here and there. Got some little roses. These ones came in the tech kit last month. And I want to put this on here because as I was going through, this resin that came in the main kit, it fits perfectly on the top of here. So I think I'll paint that gold with the gold Croco paint from the medium kit. And the other thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to add this. Let's see if I can get that in the camera here. It's kind of big. My camera doesn't go out that far. Anyway, so it's the glistening vine from the flower add-on, and my goal here is to put this on the back like that, and it's going to look ugly if I don't cover it up with something. So I thought I would just take the little piece of paper that has the 12 Days of Christmas lyrics written all over it, and I'll put that back there like that. So some of the blocks, some of the sides of the blocks won't have any representation of the 12 Days of Christmas, but this will be on here. So I am finished designing my box, and I designed it off camera, and I also just made it off camera, and I'm sorry about that, but it took me about 4 hours to decide what I wanted to do, but I'm just going to go over some of the things that I did. The main thing that I wanted to do on this box is that it's just for decoration. It's the 12 Days of Christmas, so I wanted to make sure each of the 12 days were represented. So I've got my partridge, and I've got my 2 turtle doves, and 3 French hens, and where's my 4? There's my 4 calling birds. I did this on the back. And let's see, my 5 golden rings, and the 6 geese laying, and the 7 swans, The 8 Maids, the 9 Ladies Dancing. I just love this one. It's my favorite. I love the colors on there. The 10 Lords, and the 11 Pipers, and the 12 Drummers right here. And I just fussy cut this part out of the piper and the drums from the larger piece of paper. And I just added some holly back behind when I could, just to give it that finished look. So there's the sheet music. And I added some poinsettias, and I actually layered these back behind so that this part right here, which is that prima glistening vine, didn't pull forward, that there was some bulk in between there because I put it at the bottom of this box. And let's see, I decided not to color this. I think in the video I said that I was going to color this frame that came in the main kit, but I kind of liked it to be white because I have the glistening vines that are white, so it just kind of made that go together a little better. I used a tree from my stash. It's Fancy Pants. What I did is I put this sticker on the back of another sticker right here, and then I just cut it out. And of course I needed to add some flowers. And that is pretty much it, and that's my little decoration for the 12 days of Christmas. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.